My mom told me, "Don't guilt trip us. We've had this plan for months," when I asked them to be there during my cancer surgery. So I decided cut them off, and now they're sleeping on couches. Hey Reddit, I, Jason 32 male. Don't think people really get what man of the house means until you're standing in the kitchen at 17 years old, holding a shutoff notice in one hand and your mom's grocery list in the other, wondering which bill you can let slide without the lights going out. That was my life after my dad died. Cancer. I was 15 when he got diagnosed, 16 when I watched him take his last breath. It broke something in me, but it also put me in a spot where there was no option to fall apart. My mom didn't handle money well. My sister was only 14 at the time and had zero interest in anything that didn't involve her friends or her phone. So somehow I became the guy, the one who paid the bills, fixed the leaks, argued with customer service, and figured out how to keep a roof over our heads. When I got my first full-time job, I didn't even see that first paycheck as mine. It was already spoken for before it hit my account. Rent, utilities, groceries. Then, whatever was left got eaten alive by emergencies. Mom's car registration, my sister's phone screen replacement, random school fees. They weren't grateful. That's the part that stings when I look back now. There wasn't a single thanks for covering that or we appreciate you. It was always this unspoken attitude of, well, that's your job now. Mom actually said it once. I remember because it was during one of the rare times I asked her to chip in. I'd just gotten a bill for a plumbing issue and said I didn't have the full amount to cover it. She sighed and said, "You're the man of the house, this is the bare minimum." Bare minimum. That was what keeping them fed and housed was, apparently. My sister, Monica, 30 female, took after mom in that way. Always quick to ask for stuff, slow to acknowledge anyone else's effort. She once blew the transmission in her car because she didn't think the check engine light was serious and called me crying from the side of the road. I paid to fix it. It was over $1,000, and she never paid me back a cent. A week later, she posted a picture on Instagram showing off new sneakers and tagged it #blessed. Yeah, blessed with my money. It wasn't all at once that the resentment built up. It was more like water dripping on a rock. Every bill I paid without a word. Every holiday I skipped gifts for myself so they could have something nice. Every time they'd make plans with the aunts and cousins, and I'd be invited, in name only, knowing I was really just the guy expected to cover gas or hotel costs if I went. I didn't have much of a life outside work. I'd go in early, stay late, and on weekends I'd fix whatever was broken around the house because paying someone else to do it wasn't an option. If I ever said I was tired, Mom would remind me how much my father took care of us when he was alive, as if that was the same thing. Here's the truth, though. Dad was nothing like this. Yeah, he worked hard, but he made sure we were a family. We sat down for dinner, we talked, we laughed. If I was having a bad day, he noticed. After he was gone, the house didn't feel like a home anymore. It felt like a job site. I was the worker. Mom and Monica were the clients who complained if the work wasn't done fast enough. One memory that still pisses me off happened a couple years ago. I had this old pickup I used for work, and it finally died on me. I told Mom and Monica I might need them to take the bus for a bit until I figured something out. You'd think I'd ask them to give up oxygen. Monica actually said, "Can't you just rent one? You know we can't be without a car." She meant her, because she used my truck to get to her part-time job. In the end, I scraped enough to buy a used sedan so they wouldn't have to change their routine. Guess who drove that car more than I did? I didn't say anything at the time. I never really did. It was easier to just keep the peace. But all that quiet builds into something. You start to feel like you're not part of the family. You're just the funding. Then, last year hit, and I started feeling off. Nothing huge at first. A little more tired than usual, some discomfort I couldn't really explain. I ignored it for months because that's what I did with my own problems. Put them at the bottom of the list. I figured it was stress, maybe my diet, whatever. Work was busy, bills didn't stop, so I kept going. Looking back now, that was the start of everything. I didn't know it yet, but those little aches were about to drag me into the one situation where I'd finally see exactly how much, or how little, I really mattered to them. That was the thought rattling around in my head when I finally went to the doctor. I'd been putting it off for months, but the aches got worse and there was this dull, constant heaviness I couldn't ignore anymore. It wasn't I pulled something at work pain. It was deeper. It was, my brain kept going back to my dad, even though I told myself not to. He'd been healthy right up until he wasn't, and 6 months later, he was gone. So I booked an appointment. Sat in that freezing exam room while the doctor asked a bunch of personal questions I wasn't used to answering. She examined me, ordered an ultrasound, and by the end of the week, I was sitting in her office again. "It's testicular cancer," she said, just like that. My stomach dropped. The words echoed in my head. Cancer. Same as Dad. Except she followed it up with, "The good news is it's early, and surgery to remove the tumor has a very high cure rate." I nodded like I was taking it well, but my hands were clenched so tight I could feel my nails digging into my palms. She explained the procedure. Outpatient surgery, a few hours, home the same day. Recovery wouldn't be long, but I'd need someone to drive me home and probably stick around for a few hours while the anesthesia wore off. That night, I sat in my truck outside the house for a good 15 minutes before going in. I didn't want to just drop the news on them without thinking. Part of me hoped they'd be different, that this would be the moment they'd show me I was more than just the wallet. I walked in. Mom was on the couch scrolling through her tablet. Monica was painting her nails at the dining table. "Hey, I need to tell you both something," I said. My voice came out flatter than I meant. They both looked up. I told them about the diagnosis. The words felt heavy coming out, like I was dragging them across broken glass. Monica froze for half a second, then tilted her head. "Wait, so, are you going to be able to keep working?" Mom's brow furrowed, but not in the worried way you'd expect. "You'll still be able to pay rent, right?" I just stared at them. "That's your first question?" "Well, we just need to know what we're dealing with," Mom said. "It's not like we can just stop paying bills." I swallowed hard. "I'll be fine after the surgery. I'd like one of you to come with me that day. Pick me up, make sure I'm okay when I get home." Monica immediately shook her head. "Oh, that's going to be tricky. We're going to the Bahamas with Aunt Lisa and the cousins. You know that's been planned for months." I blinked at her. "So reschedule?" She laughed like I'd said something ridiculous. "Flights are booked, non-refundable. Plus, we've been looking forward to this forever." Mom chimed in like she was the reasonable one. "Don't guilt trip us, okay? This trip has been in the works for a long time. You're making it sound like we don't care." "You don't," I said without raising my voice. "You just proved it." Mom's face tightened. "That's not fair. You're making it about us when it's about your health. You said it's curable, right? So, you'll be fine." The room felt smaller. I could hear my heartbeat in my ears. I'd been here before, not with cancer, but with the same feeling. Asking for something I thought was basic, being told I was selfish for needing it. I just nodded. "All right, forget it. I'll figure it out." Monica went back to her nails. Mom muttered something about me being dramatic. I walked out before I said something I couldn't take back. That night, I booked the surgery date. I also booked an Uber for the pickup. It felt pathetic, having to schedule a stranger to do what family should have done without thinking. A day or two later, I was at work trying to clear things off my plate so I wouldn't leave anything hanging during recovery. I mentioned to a coworker, Maya, that I'd be out for a day or two. She's been in the office about a year. We talk here and there, nothing deep. She asked, "Everything okay?" In that casual way people do when they're making small talk. I told her I had a minor surgery coming up. Downplayed it. "Nothing crazy, just routine." She tilted her head. "Who's taking you?" I shrugged. "No one. I'm just getting an Uber." She stared at me like I just told her I was planning to walk home after being hit by a bus. "Wait, no one's going with you? That's not happening. I'm taking you." I laughed, thinking she was joking. "Maya, it's fine." "Nope. Not letting you wander out of a hospital all loopy and get in some random guy's car. Give me the time and place." I tried arguing, but she wasn't having it. She even said she'd bring snacks for after. I finally gave in, partly because she wasn't going to drop it, and partly because it felt good that someone actually cared enough to offer. On the drive home that day, it hit me. I'd known her a year, and she'd already done more for me in one conversation than my mom and sister had in my entire adult life. The days leading up to the surgery were dead quiet. You'd think, with something like this on the calendar, my phone would blow up a little. Not even in a big emotional way. Just a, "What time is it again?" Or, "Do you need anything?" But nope. Monday went by, nothing. Tuesday, nothing. By Wednesday, I wasn't even expecting it. The only ping from the family group chat was Monica dropping a link to some must-pack checklist for the Bahamas. Her caption was, "Ladies, make sure we're set for beach day," followed by a string of sun and palm tree emojis. It's weird how a lack of contact can feel louder than actual words. Every time my phone stayed dark, it was like a reminder of exactly where I stood with them. I'd done so much for them over the years, but apparently my well-being wasn't worth the 30 seconds it would take to type, "Good luck." If it wasn't for Maya stepping in, I think I would have gone into that hospital feeling like the last man on earth. The morning of, she pulled up right on time. Jeans, hoodie, hair pulled back, coffee in one hand, keys in the other. You ready? She asked. Like we were just running an errand. I tossed my small duffel bag in the back seat and slid in. As I'll ever be, I said. On the drive, she talked about this ridiculous email mix-up at work. The kind of harmless office drama that doesn't matter, but makes you laugh anyway. It was a welcome distraction. Still, every time I glanced at my phone in the cup holder, it was the same blank screen. Not one text from Mom, not one call from Monica. When we pulled into the hospital parking lot, I half expected her to just drop me at the entrance, but she parked, got out, and walked in with me. At check-in, the nurse asked, "Do you have someone with you today?" Before I could answer, Maya said, "Yep, that's me," and took the clipboard. She didn't hesitate, didn't act like she was doing me some huge favor, just stepped in like it was the most natural thing in the world. Maya sat in the corner, scrolling her phone, but looking up every couple minutes to throw in a joke or comment. She pointed at the hospital socks and said, "Those are a look. You should wear them to work." As they wheeled me out, I had this sudden thought. Mom doesn't even know what time this is happening. Monica hasn't asked once. They're probably at the airport by now, comparing passport photos. The OR was cold and bright. The nurse put a mask over my face and told me to take deep breaths. The last thing I remember before the lights went out was thinking, if I can get through this without them, I can get through anything. When I came to, it was like waking up underwater. My head felt stuffed with cotton, my mouth dry. I turned my head and there was Maya, sitting in the same chair, looking up from her phone as soon as my eyes opened. "Hey, you're back. How's it going, champ?" she said, grinning like this was just another Tuesday. The nurse came in with discharge instructions. Maya leaned forward, listening, nodding, asking things I wouldn't have thought of in a fog. She helped me sit up, made sure I drank some water before we left. She wheeled me out to her car, carried my bag, and even buckled the seatbelt when I fumbled with it. On the way home, she kept the conversation light, told me about the guy in the waiting room who'd been snoring so loud that the receptionist had to tap him awake. When we got to my place, she came inside without me asking, set my bag down, got me a bottle of water, lined up my meds on the coffee table, put the remote within reach. She even opened the blinds just enough so the room didn't feel like a cave. "You good?" she asked. "Yeah," I said. "Thanks, Maya. Seriously." She waved me off. "Text me if you need anything." I mean it. After she left, the house was quiet. I sat there in my sweatpants, the soreness in my side a constant reminder of the morning, and finally picked up my phone. Still nothing from Mom, still nothing from Monica. Not a "how'd it go?" Not a "feeling okay?" Just total silence. But Monica's Instagram? That was busy. New post. Her and Mom, both in matching floral dresses, holding colorful drinks on a dock. Caption: "Family time is the best time." I just stared at it for a while. Not even angry. More like I was watching a rerun I'd seen 100 times. This was who they were. I'd known it for years, but the picture made it painfully clear. That night, lying on the couch, I realized something. I'd made it through the whole day without the people who claimed family sticks together. And honestly, I didn't just survive without them. I was better off without them. I spent the first couple days after the surgery just taking it slow. Short walks from the couch to the kitchen, sleeping when I needed to, making sure I didn't twist or bend the wrong way. Maya checked in by text every morning. A quick, "How's the pain?" or "Need anything from the store?" I never asked her to, but she still did it. From my own family, radio silence. By the third day, I'd stopped expecting to hear from them. If they didn't care before the surgery, they weren't going to magically care now. That was when the decision started to solidify in my head. I wasn't going to keep paying for people who could watch me go through surgery and still treat me like a disposable ATM. The next morning, I opened my laptop, logged into my bank account, and started making changes. The rent autopay? Canceled. The utility bills in my name? Removed my card information. Streaming accounts I was paying for but didn't even use? Logged out and reset the passwords. It felt almost surgical. Click, remove, save. I'd been running their lives for so long that pulling myself out of it took over an hour. When I closed the laptop, the weight in my chest felt a little lighter. 2 days later, the phone call started. First, it was Mom. She didn't even say hello, just, "The rent didn't go through? Did your card expire?" "No," I said, keeping my voice calm. Pause. "Okay, so, when are you going to send it?" "I'm not." The silence that followed was short but sharp. "What do you mean you're not? We'll get evicted." "You won't get evicted if you pay it yourself," I said. Her voice shot up an octave. "Excuse me? You're the man of the house. This is your responsibility." That was the moment I realized she still didn't get it. Mom, I just had surgery. You didn't call, you didn't check in. I'm done paying for people who don't even care if I make it through the day. She scoffed. Oh, don't be dramatic. We knew you'd be fine. It was a minor procedure. You're making it sound like we abandoned you. I let out a short laugh, but there was nothing funny about it. You did abandon me. That's when she played the line I knew was coming. Your father would be disappointed in you. My stomach twisted, but I didn't let her hear it in my voice. Dad would have been in the waiting room, not the Bahamas. She hung up without another word. An hour later, Monica called. Seriously, Jason? You cut off Netflix? I stared at the phone. That's what you're worried about? Well, yeah, I was in the middle of a show. You could have at least warned me. I could have warned you about a lot of things, I said. Like the fact that I'm done paying your bills. She laughed like I was kidding. You're not serious. You know I don't make enough from my job to cover my car and the rent. This is literally your job. You've been doing it for years. My job? I repeated. Yes, she said, like it was obvious. You make more money, you don't have kids, you live cheap. It's just the fair thing. I could feel my jaw tighten. Fair is you covering your own life while I cover mine. Not me covering all of ours while you post pictures from the Bahamas. That's when she got nasty. You're being selfish. You've always had this thing about making yourself the victim. You act like we've never done anything for you. Tell me one thing, I said. One time in the last 10 years you've been there for me the way I've been there for you. She paused, then said, well, my money is my money. You've always made more, so obviously you should take care of the rest. That line actually made me laugh, short and bitter. So your money's yours, but my money's ours? Got it. She huffed. We're family. That's enough. No, Monica, I said. It's not. She went quiet for a second, then, fine. But when we lose the house, that's on you. Everyone's going to know you turned your back on your own family. I almost told her to go ahead and tell them. Instead, I hung up. The next week was a mix of angry voicemails and cold silence. Mom left messages about, how could you do this after all we've been through? And you're going to regret this when we're homeless. Monica texted me screenshots of overdue notices like they were supposed to guilt me into pulling out my wallet. They didn't ask how my recovery was going. They didn't ask if I needed anything. Every word out of them was about money. Always money. By the end of that week, I had no doubt I'd made the right call. The only people who cared about me getting better were outside my bloodline. One night, I got another call from Mom. I let it go to voicemail, then listened. Jason, we're going to lose the house. The landlord already gave us a warning. I can't believe you do this after your father trusted you to take care of us. This is betrayal. Real betrayal. You'll be the reason your sister ends up on the street. I deleted it without saving. It wasn't betrayal, it was self-preservation. And if that made me the bad guy in their story, I could live with it. What I couldn't live with was them spinning their side to everyone else without the truth being out there. Because that's what they started doing. Calling up aunts, cousins, even old neighbors, telling anyone who'd listen that I abandoned them in their time of need. By the end of that week, I had 3 missed calls from my Aunt Carla and 2 from my cousin Darren. Both left voicemails along the lines of, hey, I'm not getting involved, but maybe call your mom. Translation, they've already been working the sympathy circuit. So I decided, fine. If they want to talk, let's talk. Just not behind my back. I went into our extended family group chat, the one that's mostly used for holiday plans and the occasional birthday message, and posted 2 screenshots. The first was the group chat message where I told them the date of my surgery and asked if one of them could take me home afterward. Monica's reply mocking me for asking if there's really no way to reschedule. The second screenshot was Monica's Instagram post from the same day as my surgery. Her in a swimsuit, holding a drink, captioned, "Family time is the best time." No caption from me, just the screenshots. I wanted the words to speak for themselves. Within 10 minutes, the chat blew up. Aunt Carla was the first to respond with, wow, just wow. Then my cousin Darren, that's disgusting. One of my uncles chimed in with, Jason, I had no idea. I didn't reply right away. I let it sit. Let them absorb it. Because I knew Mom and Monica were watching the same thread, probably scrambling to figure out how to spin it. Sure enough, Monica jumped in after about 20 minutes. This is totally out of context. He made it sound like it was life or death. It was a routine procedure, and we already had non-refundable tickets. That's when I decided to push it further. Monica, you told me my surgery wasn't worth missing a trip for. You didn't call before. You didn't call after. And now you're mad I'm not paying your bills. Which, by the way, includes the rent for the house you're about to lose. She replied with the cherry on top, well, my money is my money. You've always made more, so obviously you should take care of the rest. Several people in the chat immediately called her out. Are you serious right now? You can't be that entitled. And she left the group. Mom tried a different approach. Family business should stay private. Airing things out like this is petty and hurtful. I typed back, you're only upset because your version of the story isn't the only one out there anymore. After that, I stopped responding. I'd done what I needed to do. Now the rest was just going to play out on its own. But I wasn't done. Monica had this polished image at her job. She worked in a customer-facing role at a small marketing firm and loved bragging about being the reliable one on her team. So I sent an email. Not anonymous, not fake. Straight from me to her manager. I laid out what happened, attached the same screenshots I'd shared with the family, and explained that this was the kind of family values she was promoting online while representing their company. I didn't demand anything, didn't threaten anything. I just said I thought they should know. 2 days later, I heard from a mutual acquaintance who worked in the same building that Monica had been pulled into a meeting and came out looking like she'd swallowed glass. She wasn't fired, but she lost a couple of her big accounts. I didn't feel bad. Actions have consequences, and she was finally tasting hers. She only lost a couple big accounts, but in Monica's head, that was career ending. By the time she'd spun the story to her friends, she was basically telling people I'd gotten her blacklisted from the entire industry. Meanwhile, Mom was still trying to get sympathy from the relatives. Problem was, enough people had seen the proof that her story wasn't landing. Aunt Carla straight up told her she was out of line. My Uncle Jim offered to help her find a cheaper place since Jason isn't footing the bill anymore. That didn't go over well. Apparently, in her mind, downsizing was humiliating and beneath her. I wasn't hearing from them directly much after that, but I knew the pressure was building. The landlord wasn't going to wait forever on the rent, and without my payments, they were already a month behind. I could have stepped in at that point. I could have sent the money just to keep things from blowing up, but I didn't, because this was the reality check they'd dodged for years, the one where they actually had to stand on their own. One night, about 2 weeks after I posted the screenshots, I got a text from an unknown number. Hope you're happy. We're about to lose everything. No name, but I didn't need one. I didn't reply. The next morning, another text from Monica, this time from her regular number. You've completely ruined my life. Everyone at work knows. Our family thinks I'm a monster, and now we're getting evicted. Congrats. I put the phone down and made coffee. I wasn't gloating, not really, but I did feel lighter. They'd been living off me for so long that they'd forgotten the money wasn't infinite, and now they were being forced to live in the real world. That afternoon, Maya swung by to drop off some groceries she'd picked up for me. I told her the eviction notice was probably coming soon. She just shook her head. They did this to themselves, she said. Don't let them make it your problem again. I promised her I wouldn't, and for the first time, I actually meant it. The eviction notice didn't surprise me. The landlord gave me a heads up 2 weeks before it happened. The landlord called early in the morning. Hey, remember when you came in last month to sign off the lease renewal? Good thing you didn't. You're officially off it now. They haven't paid a dime since you stopped, so I'll be posting the notice today. A couple hours later, my neighbor texted me a photo of the big orange paper taped to their door. Looks like it's happening, was all he wrote. From then on, the calls started back up. Mom cycled between sobbing and screaming, saying I'd thrown them to the street. Monica took a different angle, accusing me of abandoning my family like I'd walked out on a marriage. Then I got the letter. Not a fancy envelope, not gold embossed, just a standard white one from a local law office. Inside was a notice. They were filing a small claims case against me. The reason? Emotional distress and financial harm caused by breach of family obligations. I actually laughed out loud. Breach of family obligations isn't a thing, not in any court I've ever heard of. And emotional distress? In small claims? That's like trying to return a broken toaster to a grocery store. Wrong place, wrong process. I had to read it twice. Family obligations? That's not a thing in the legal system. I showed Maya over coffee. She looked at it, then at me. You're kidding. This is actually a thing they're trying? Oh, they're serious, I said. They probably think I'll cave and settle just to make it go away. They didn't know I'd already spoken to a legal aid rep. The rep confirmed exactly what I thought. Small claims court deals with concrete, provable damages. You can't just say he made me sad and expect a payout. But I didn't tell them that. Let them waste their time. When the hearing date came, it was exactly as I pictured. Small, plain courtroom. Folding chairs, a bored clerk at the front. Mom showed up in a somber dress, like she was auditioning for a tragic movie role. Monica had her hair done and carried a folder like she was about to present a business pitch. The judge called the case. Mom went first. She said I'd abandoned my duty to provide for the household, and that cutting off the money had left them in severe hardship, emotionally and financially. Monica chimed in that I'd publicly embarrassed them by sharing messages with family, which made her workplace view her differently. When it was my turn, I kept it simple. I handed the judge a folder with 3 things: the message I sent them telling them the date of my surgery and asking for a ride home, their replies about not missing the Bahamas trip, Monica's text where she said, "My money is my money. You've always made more, so obviously you should take care of the rest." These, I said, are the people claiming emotional damage. They refused to help me when I needed them. I stopped paying their bills. That's it. There's no legal obligation here. The judge looked over the papers, asked Mom if any agreement had ever been made in writing that I'd pay their expenses. She admitted no, but said, "It was understood." "Ma'am," the judge said, "understanding is not a contract." Monica tried to jump in about her reputation, but the judge cut her off. Your family discussing your behavior among themselves is not defamation under the law. This is small claims court, not a place for family grudges. It lasted maybe 30 minutes. The judge dismissed the case. No damages, no orders, no nothing. Just a note on the record that they'd wasted the court's time. They walked out without looking at me. Outside in the parking lot, Mom tried one last shot. "Jason, we're still your family. You'll regret this when we're gone." I told her, "You made your choices. I'm making mine," and got in my truck. Word got around quick. Not because I told anyone. The court clerk was the cousin of a family friend, and small-town gossip does the rest. By the end of the week, half the extended family knew they'd tried to sue me and failed. The sympathy they'd been milking for months dried up overnight. When the eviction day finally came, they moved out in a rush. Neighbors said they left half their stuff on the curb, bickering the whole time. I heard through the grapevine they tried staying with Aunt Carla, but got booted in 4 days. Uncle Jim lasted less than a week before telling them to go. That's when the couch surfing began. Friends, friends of friends, anyone they thought might give them a bed. Every stay was shorter than the last. Maya asked me if I thought they'd ever realize they caused all of it. I told her no. People like that rewrite the story until they're the victims. And in their heads, I'd always be the villain who stopped paying. By the time the first cold snap hit, I'd heard they were on their 3rd couch in 3 weeks. Word traveled without me asking. People love reporting on other people's messes. This time, it wasn't just extended family talking. Even old neighbors from our street were sharing updates. "Your mom's staying with some friend of your aunt's," one text read. "They're already hinting about leaving." Another message came from a guy I went to high school with. "Monica crashed at my buddy's place for 2 nights, then complained about the couch being lumpy. They told her to leave." It wasn't that I cared where they were sleeping. I just found it strange seeing them live in the same reality the rest of us had been in all along. No cushioned landing, no backup plan, no guaranteed safety net. Then, one Sunday morning, I got a knock on my door. Not the rapid, impatient kind I was used to from Monica. This one was slow, measured. I opened it, and there was Mom. She looked smaller somehow, like the last few months had chipped pieces off her. Coat zipped all the way up, hair pulled back, purse clutched against her chest. "Jason," she said quietly, "can I come in?" I stepped aside. She walked in like someone visiting a stranger's home, careful not to touch anything. I gestured to the couch. She sat down, clasped her hands together. "I've been thinking about everything, and I regret it. All of it." I leaned against the wall. "You regret me finding out who you really are, or you regret the things you actually did?" Her eyes flicked up at me. "Both." I didn't answer right away. I just waited. She exhaled like she was bracing herself. "I'm sick, Jason. Kidney failure. They say I'll need regular treatment, maybe a transplant eventually. And She trailed off, looking down at her hands. "I need help." I'd be lying if I said the word help didn't immediately bring back every bill I'd covered, every sacrifice I'd made. But this wasn't the same as paying for a trip or covering someone's streaming subscription. This was her life. Still, I wasn't about to throw myself back into the role they'd abused for years. "What exactly are you asking for?" I said. "Medical bills, treatment costs. It's a lot." She glanced up quickly. "I'm not asking to move in. I know that's over." I nodded slowly. "Send me the bills. I'll cover the treatment. Just the treatment. Nothing else." Her eyes widened slightly, like she'd expected me to either refuse outright or open the floodgates completely. "That's more than I deserve," she said finally. "You're right," I said. We sat in silence for a minute. I could tell she wanted to say more. maybe even try to slide in a request for housing or day-to-day expenses. But something in my face must have told her I was done negotiating. She stood up. "Thank you," she said softly, and headed for the door. After she left, I stood there for a while. The old version of me, the one who'd pay rent, cover repairs, and still get guilt-tripped, would have let her move back in temporarily and ended up right where I started. But that guy was gone. Over the next month, she sent me copies of her medical invoices. I paid them directly to the clinic. No extra cash. No, while you're at it, requests allowed. Monica didn't contact me once during all this. I think she knew I was the one thing standing between Mom and total medical chaos, and she couldn't figure out how to spin that into me being the bad guy. From what I heard, Monica was still bouncing between friends' apartments, using the same My Brother's Cruel story until people compared notes and realized she was the problem. By Christmas, Mom had a treatment routine in place. Monica was on her fourth place to crash, and I was living in peace for the first time in years. I still covered Mom's medical bills, not because she earned it, but because I could look in the mirror and know I didn't sink to her level. That was the boundary. I'd help her survive, but I'd never again help her live comfortably at my expense. One night, I sat in my living room, coffee in hand, the house quiet except for the hum of the heater. My phone buzzed. A text from Maya. "How's life without the leeches?" she wrote. I smirked. Quieter, cheaper, better. She replied with a thumbs up emoji and then, "Proud of you, dude. Most people never cut the cord. And maybe that was it. Most people can't. But I had. And I wasn't going back."